do you actually have to warm up your writing clients before you send them an LOI or before you ever offer them any content marketing services? That was a question that came in that we're going over today, which I think is a really important one because freelance writing and freelance writing, like freelance writer marketing, is very different than other fields. It's more one-to-one. I know that there are other ways to do it. I know that there are ways to have your marketing be kind of like more like an email list or be something that is like more traditional marketing. But for me, what I've found is one-on-one marketing. So do we have to warm them up? Do we actually have to do a bunch of stuff ahead of sending an LOI or ahead of doing other cool stuff? So I'm going to read this question that we got, and then we're going to go over it. So hold on one second. All right. So it says, I read somewhere that before sending an LOI, I need to warm the person up that I want to offer my services to. So in warming up, that would be a series of direct messages if your connection request was accepted, sending them valuable articles or anything else that brings value to them. And then, only then, you can send them an LOI. Do you think it's really necessary? Do you even send a connection request to say, like, the director of marketing? So we're going to talk about these things. Hey, Shara. Yeah. Well, we're glad you're here, Shara. We're glad that you could hang out for a little bit. So it's totally fine. I always think of this live stream as like you just kind of come in and hang out whenever you can. And, you know, you can watch the replay later if you want. That's why we have these. So let's talk about this. I think this is a really interesting question. I just think it's really fascinating. So do you have to, like, I'm going to give you the short answer and the long answer for a bunch of these things. So the first thing we're talking about, right, number one, where is number one? We also have questions today that we're going to answer at the end that came in that I think are really cool and important. So the first thing we're going to talk about is whether or not you have to or you should need to warm up a potential writing client before sending your LOI. So when this person's asking this, right, like I read somewhere that before sending an LOI, I need to warm the person up that I want to offer my services to. So basically, hey, Vicky, I always love the wave. So basically, it's like, do I need to kind of butter them up before I send something about my services? Do I need to do all this stuff? So this is an interesting thing because the short answer is no, like hard no. I don't do that for 99%. Every once in a while, I'll have a client where I'll send them articles or I will find things that I think of them, or there'll be things where I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is, you know, you got funding or you got this cool announcement or something that's going on. And I will reach out to them like that. They're not my client. They're in, you know, someone that I have a potential client or I had a call with them or sent them a proposal, whatever. But very rarely do I ever like butter someone up or warm them up or do any of that stuff. Oh, hey, Hal. Welcome in. Hal says it's his first live session in a while. Yeah, we're glad that you're here. Thanks for popping in. Ooh, so tell me, okay, is it Shaista? Okay, I need to know how to pronounce your name because we've been talking back and forth. So I have your questions today. They were popped in. I have them in here ready to answer at the end. So tell me how to pronounce your name. Is it Shaista or is it Shaista? I hate mispronouncing people's names. So like, let me know how to pronounce your name so I can say it right. Okay. So here's the deal. Short answer is no. Okay. Short answer is no. The long answer is you need to do your marketing. We can't spend 85 billion hours like a consumer marketing business warming everybody up. Okay. In order to send your 50 to 75 LOIs a month, or in order to do your 1 hour of marketing every day, depending on how you set your goals. Like for me, 50 to 75 was like a number, but like that didn't motivate me as much as doing like that effort goal of 1 hour every day. So you have to get your marketing done. You don't have time to sit around with hundreds of people warming them up before you send an LOI. Like there's no time for that. This is a difference too. It's something that I talked about with my students yesterday. So part of my course, part of Freelance Writer Wealth Lab is that we actually have ongoing live Q&As. So even though we have 10 weeks of the course where we have 2 live Q&As a week, I have them hang out in the community afterwards and we do live Q&As in the community. So we had one yesterday and we were talking about this exact thing. So consumer marketing and B2B marketing are very different. They're different beasts. So this is a good example. The idea that you're warming up, like this is the example I gave them, was okay, if you have regular Coke, like regular Coca-Cola, like in a can, right? And then you're like, we're going to do Coke with lime. Everyone's like, whoa, 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 hang on. So consumers need a bunch of different phases and a bunch of different touch points in order to understand that they want to even try this product. So basically they would do a commercial that's like, hey, remember Coke, that thing that you love so much, that thing that's so nostalgic that you're just like addicted to? Now it comes in with lime. So first they introduce you to like, hey, remember this thing you love? Here's it with lime. Then they do a commercial or they do some kind of ad campaign with just the lime. Then they do this other stuff. There's all these different combinations of things that they have to do, right? And we were talking about like with consumers, you need like 7 or 8 touch points, and that consumers before they buy a product, 80% of them, I forget where the stats from, but the 80% of them will look at your website, your content, and your social media before they ever reach out to you. So all of those things, shaista, or is it oh, dang. Shaista. Is that right? Shaista? Or shaista? Help. Help. Okay, anyways. So when you're doing these things with consumers, they need a lot of like poking and warming up and different stuff. We're doing B2B marketing, right? We have a freelance writing business that we are marketing to other businesses, other clients, right? Whether they're startups or Fortune 500 companies. Hi, Goob. We've got our skunktastic friend in here. Uh-oh, hold on. Didn't switch. I'm gonna have to replug it in. It should switch now. Hold on. There it goes. Hold on. There she is. Our little skunk friend's here. Charlotte, you look super cute. So with our B2B marketing, right, our freelance writing business to a startup. Oh no, now it's lost forever. Hold on. Did you find it? Where did it go? Oh no, it's lost forever. Oh, here it is. There it goes. Okay, we found it. Crisis averted. All right, so consumers need a lot more touch points than B2B. So if we're reaching out to a startup or a Fortune 500 company or a regular company, you know, Inc. 5000 company, hi Peanut, a little faster, the first one was right. Shaista? Shaista? Is that right? Shaista? Okay, we're going to go with that for now, and if that's wrong, let me know. So as we kind of do our marketing, the whole point is that we're making these one-on-one connections. So the deal that you would have to warm someone up before you send an LOI, if you have to send 50 to 75 LOIs a month, or you have to do 1 hour of marketing every day, that would take forever to get clients. It would take so long. And I only really kind of like do those touch points with clients who either aren't ready yet or clients who I really want to work with them, and maybe they, you know, I sent them an LOI, or we've had kind of some sort of back and forth, and I'm like, you know, finding interesting things that might be relevant to them, and then I send that. But if you had to do, so 50 times 5 times 12, right? So that's what, 60, right? Is 5 times 12 60? Yeah. So you would have to do 600, right? So if you're sending 50 LOI, like the minimum, right? 50 LOIs a month, and you'd have to have 600 people that you're constantly warming up all the time before you send an LOI. You're not going to make any money doing that. That's not going to work. I just think that, I don't know where you read that or who said it, but that is like basis of, hey, Larissa, welcome in. We're glad you're here. That is just not going to happen. So if you had like an email list, right? Like let's say you had a bunch of prospects and you kept adding them to an email list, which I only recommend once you're kind of further down the pipeline and you know what types of clients to add to your email list. I'm not a big fan of the idea of like all people that you ever email you should just add them to your email list, which you're not allowed to add people's emails to an email list unless they opt in. So that's GDPR. But if you smell super skunky, you just smell, we'll talk about the skunky thing later, but so Yeah, the email listing is a later in the game thing, but when you're starting as a freelance writer and really as you're kind of growing your business and learning the types of clients that you want, you need to make sure that it's more one-on-one. And in order to get those 50 to 75 LOIs a month, in order to get more connection requests, in order to do all these things, you just have to cold email them out, cold LOI. Now, I'm not saying cold LOI to randos. Like, we talk about this a lot in the course. This is something that we go over in Freelance Writer Wealth Lab, which actually I should put that up. So, Freelance Writer Wealth Lab, my course is going to open in like 20 days. I think it's like going to open on September 6th, I want to say is the right day. But if you go to mandyellis.com/course, you can sign up for the wait list and then you'll know when it's open. But it's about to open in early September, right after Labor Day. So, where was I going? Now I forgot. In any case, when you're sending your LOIs, I had a thought that I wanted to share, but now it's gone. So in any case, if you're sending these LOIs, right, you don't have time to wait. You have to randos, that's right. So in Freelance Writer Wealth Lab, there we go, Freelance Writer Wealth Lab, we talk about making specific whittled down lists of clients to send LOIs to. Not only are these clients in your niche, but they make the right amount of money. They have the right revenue ranges for them to be able to afford a freelance writer. And there's somewhere where you want to go. Like it's a whittled down list. It's not just like pick 1,000 people and send an LOI. We're not doing that. That's not effective. I mean, it could be, but it's time consuming. So what we're doing is making these very specific lists of people to reach out to so that our LOIs are more effective. So we don't have to send 1 billion of them to get results. We're like being more strategic about our marketing. So as we kind of make these lists, and I teach more in depth about this in the course, this helps your LOIs like basically, if you're around 10% response rate, not clients, but if you send 100 LOIs and you get 10 responses, that's pretty good. Right now, my response rate is like 25 or 30%, but that's because I'm super picky about who I reach out to. So I usually do my marketing quarterly, so I end up sending like 50 to 75 LOIs every quarter. I'm doing more marketing right now just because like it's summer and things are sticky. But I am very particular about who I reach out to. So I have a higher response rate because I have over time learned like what kinds of attributes I'm looking for in clients, and I've narrowed it down a lot. But if you're at 10% for response rate, that's good. But we want to have this list. And the cool thing about having this list is it's a lot quicker and faster, like quicker and easier to do your marketing. But it's also targeted in a way where like it's not so cold. It's not so random. Like there are people where they get it and they're like, oh, I probably do want this. So that's more important than warming people up, right? That's just kind of, I think warming people up, right? Like this is like whether or not you should do it. I just don't think it's worth your time. Your time and energy and effort as a freelance writer should be irons in the fire, like very specific irons in the fire, not just like trying to go nuts with everybody, like having your niches so that you can direct your marketing, so you can be more specific in who you reach out to. Most times when I meet freelance writers who are generalists, where they kind of send things out, that's because they're coming from like a different background. Like they've already worked for several publications, or they have a lot of different industry experiences that they can rely on. But I feel like generalist is a very specific category of freelance writers, and most of them, like by picking niches, you get the marketing done, you get clients, and you actually make money, like, you know, the things you want to do. Then you can kind of tweak and change processes and systems and clients as you kind of learn more. So the first thing, right, is just like, it's just, to me, it's not worth your time. Like if you spend all this time, right, like you're warming someone up with a direct message, with a connection request, with sending articles, with doing things that bring value, that takes so much time. And what you're doing there is the opposite of what I do when I do my marketing. When I do my marketing, I'm like, do you need help? Cool. Goodbye. Like, that's it. When I'm sending an LOI, like I have templates. Here they are. If you go to mandyellis.com/bundle, you can get the templates that I use in my business right now. In those templates, it's like, hi, hope you're doing well, or congrats on your funding, or something nice. You know, do you need some help? I can help you. I'm qualified. Here's my past clients. Here's my niches. Here's my portfolio. Here's testimonials, like a link to the testimonials. Goodbye. Like, would love to talk to you. That's it. What we want to do there is just ask if they need help. That's the point, is when we're doing all this warming up, what you're doing is like you're assuming that you know things about their business, or that you know what they need or what they want help with, or you're wasting all of this time and energy on stuff you have no idea about. You don't know what's going on with their business. If you ask if they need help, all that does is open the door and say, like, if you need content help, I'm here. That's it. That's it. We don't want to like make assumptions. We don't want to waste time and energy being like, you need this article about this. You need this thing about that. Like, having a conversation with them is way more valuable, and telling them that you're there to help them is way more useful than being like, DM, connection request, articles, this thing. Like, you're also assuming that everybody wants your services. If you just send an LOI and you say, do you need help? Sorry. And you say, do you need help? Right? Then you have the option of them saying, like, we need help with this. Instead of you saying, do you need help with blog posts? You just say, do you need help with content? And then they can tell you, and it kind of opens that door a little bit more, rather than all of these other assumptions we're making about what they need or what they're doing, what they need help with. I just feel like that's kind of like just a waste of time. You just don't know. And they're not consumers, they're businesses. They're busy, they have other things to do. And they're focused on a certain set of KPIs, right? Key performance indicators or results or sales or whatever. So all of these things, like for me, when I think about warming up prospects, is a lot of times you're like guessing what they need, right? And this is way different. So like when I'm talking about my course, when I talk about Freelance Writer Wealth Lab, or when I end up doing, marketing for that, or talking about helping freelance writers, that's a way different audience than me marketing to my clients. So doing that, like having someone know about the course, is way different than someone getting help with content. So those, I do different types of marketing for those for very specific reasons, right? So this whole idea, I think, is just kind of like, you're better off making your list, cutting down by revenue, and then sending your LOIs that way, and sending your list like your niche clients. Okay. Can we send LOIs to job postings and reach them as a temporary contract or freelance writer? So for me, I just don't think job postings are useful. They're not, like, most of the time, though, their rates are really low, and you're competing against like 100 other people. If you go to LinkedIn and you look at their job postings, even if you just search freelance writer, if you go to LinkedIn and you type in freelance writer and you look through all the job postings and you click on one and it says like this many people applied, it's like hundreds of people. They're not doing, most of the time they're not doing it right, okay? There are very few LinkedIn job postings that I have ever seen that pay well, that are actually the jobs you want. So you don't want to like do that, unless every once in a while there's a LinkedIn job post where you're like, this is a perfect fit for me, and I'll send an LOI to the person who's hiring, or to the marketing person, or the CEO. Very rarely, like twice a year. It's like, it never happens. So if you're looking on job boards and you're looking through LinkedIn, or you're looking through writing jobs, those are typically very low paid. Like, they're not, you're competing against a lot of people. You are ending up in this situation where you're treating it like a full-time job, like a 9-to-5, and your freelance business is not a 9-to-5. You are not combing job boards. You are reaching out to people to say, hey, do you need help with content? Like, a lot of people don't know how to find a freelance writer, or they don't really know if they're like, is that an option for us, until you kind of reach out to them. So yeah, there are temporary contract jobs that you can get as a freelance writer. There are places where you will get a recruiter that reaches out about a contract position that's like full-time or part-time or whatever. But then you kind of get stuck in this hourly crap where everyone's like, you should work for $20 an hour, or like $50, $50 an hour, I would say, is kind of your minimum. Depending on how it is. Like, if it's like a full-time contract for like 3 months and they'll pay you really well for it, like, a reasonable rate, then that's a different story. You're going to make some good money on that. But yeah, you're sending LOIs to like content marketing managers, content managers, directors of marketing, marketing managers, VPs of marketing. And if none of those people exist at that company, the CEO. So this is a question that we talk about a lot, is like, I go over this in the course in depth about why we don't use job boards. And if you do find something on a job board, like, be cautious about it. That is like a cattle call. You don't want to be the cattle call. You want to be the one person who shows up in their inbox saying, do you need help? And then they're like, oh, thank God you're here. That's what you want. So that was an important question, but also just remember, like, oops, oh man, I just deleted something by accident. Oh well. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about number 2, people. let's do number 2. And Charlotte's over here bugging me. So let's talk about Charlotte for a second. Charlotte, go to your hobbit hole. Charlotte, go to your hobbit hole. Go to your hobbit hole, please. Thank you. Go to your hobbit hole. Good job. Can you catch this? So we have been trying to get rid of Charlotte's skunk smell for 3 to 4 weeks now. I don't even remember. Like, it's been a long time. So we've been trying to get rid of Charlotte's skunk smell. And as I'm sitting in this room with her, last night I went outside to gather her because she likes to, go outside and play in the middle of the night. So I go out there and it smelled skunky. And I was like, what's going on? And now that Charlotte is sitting in the room with me, I can smell it on her. So either she got sprayed through the fence, so it's not as bad as last time where she got sprayed in the face and neck directly, but her face, like her muzzle and her eyeballs, like around there, smell like skunk. So she got a fresh dose. I am convinced now that I've been in this room held captive by her skunkery that she got a dose again. So we are gonna have to limit your outdoor time, Peanut, because Snorkel, can you go back to your spot? Go back to your hobbit hole. Good girl. We're gonna have to limit your nighttime outdoor time. High five. High five. Good job. Because I am not. We're still trying to get rid of the original skunk smell. I don't need you getting like microdosed more skunk smell. High five. High five. Good girl. Yeah, so basically, like, if you look at her face, like, her entire snowdrift, her little gray spots on her face and, like, up to her eyeballs are really extra skunky. So, we're going to have to give you, this will be her 6th bath, and we haven't even gotten rid of the original skunk smell. I know. It's tough to believe, right? It's hard to believe that you stink. Ugh, gosh. I wish I didn't do that. Now my hand smells skunky. Ugh. No, I'm skunky. Okay. If you feel like this has been helpful so far, the information I shared, not the skunky part. If you feel like this has been helpful, give it a thumbs up. If you feel like you want to learn more about building a high-earning freelance writing business, subscribe. Let's talk about number 2. So the second thing we're talking about is, do we need to send valuable info and articles ahead of time? Is it worth it? It can only be worth it in a certain amount of cases. So if we're sending helpful information or valuable articles, I only do that for like, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4, but probably 1 or 2 clients per year where I've had a call with them. They answered my LOI. It was something where I sent a proposal and I was like, I really like this company. Like, it's not so much about me getting work from them. It's like, I really think what they're doing is cool. And when they get funding or when they do something neat or they have an article written about them or a press release or something, I always interact with it because I'm like, what you're doing is really cool. That isn't really, it does end up in work a lot of times, but for me, the motivation is like, I just like your company. I think what you're doing is helpful or neat or revolutionary or whatever. So the motivation is different. This is something really important to remember. So this is something where when someone thinks about warming up, a lot of your motivation is how many times do I have to talk to you before you give me money? That's something that I think is really kind of the wrong way to think about it, right? This is what I get from freelance writers sometimes. They're like, well, how many times do I have to do this until they will sign my contract, right? Give me money, right? That's the wrong way to think about it. Anytime you're following up with articles or value or stuff that you want, that should be something that you're excited to share. The excitement should come from them doing something cool or neat or revolutionary or something that makes you like pumped up. That's where your motivation should be. And then you can be like, yeah, it would be cool if they gave me some work. This is why I only do this for a couple companies a year, because there's just like this, I don't want to be one of those people where my motivation is like, follow up, get the money, right? And this is separate. This is separate than me following up on LOIs. So let's talk about that. So there's one, do I send valuable articles and stuff to these nurtury type clients? Yes. The other part is there are LOIs that I follow up with every quarter. Like every quarter, I have a whole bunch of them that are boomeranged back in my inbox. If you go to Boomerang, like Boomerang is one of my favorite tools. It basically just brings emails back to your inbox whenever you want. So here's the deal. You then, when I get these LOIs, these are people who already answered. I'm just following up. I either sent them a proposal, we had a call, we worked together, and then we stopped working together for whatever reason. we had like some kind of warm connection already, and I just follow up and saying like, hey, do you need any help? What's up? That's way different than buttering someone up that you've never met or talked to, or like sending things to them. And the motivation for following up with these LOIs that I've sent is like, hey, we already had initial contact. We talked to each other. We know each other. Is there anything new that's changed, which things change all the time, that you are looking for help with in terms of content strategy, content marketing, anything in those arenas? So I think when we're kind of going through those things, they're two separate entities. And there's nothing wrong with following up on warm LOIs, like things where you have actually spoken to someone, they've responded to you. I've gotten lots of clients by simply following up on LOIs for a long time. And following up on LOIs where I actually spoke with someone, not LOIs that are just like, no one answered. I only follow up on LOIs where people actually answered. The idea here is that the motivation to do them is different. The motivation to butter someone up is different than me saying like, hey, we had a call, like, is there anything new that happened? Pay attention to that. I think a lot of times people miss the whole point of marketing. Like, the people who are successful with marketing, whether it's consumers or products or services or brands or whatever type of category you want to pick, it's because they always have like the audience's best interest at heart. They're not there being like, how many X do I have to do to get this? Of course they have statistics, right? They have certain metrics where they're like, we know that based on our audience's activity, they need 6 touch points before they spend money. But the motivation and the things that drive their strategies and processes and how they do their business is on serving and helping their audience. Like, that's the thing that I keep in mind when I talk about the course. Like, I talk about my course because I already know it helps people. I know that all the strategies and techniques in it are things that are really important to people growing their business. And my motivation for my course is that more people, like more freelance writers, know how to run a business without burning out, without getting this feast and famine. They understand like the aspects of their business that help them make money, whether that's $10,000 or $100,000, and they can actually fit a schedule. Like, it's not this thing where, like I've taken freelance courses where it's like, yeah, that's part of it, but now you have to buy more, and then you have to do this, and it's a really frustrating experience. But my course, I was like, nope, we're going to put everything in one package so that more writers can earn money, like without being stressed out, without having to go through shitty clients, with actually recognizing how to do these things. And for me, I'm also motivated by that idea, right? Like, we've talked about this on this live stream, but Real Artists Don't Starve by Jeff Goins. You should read that book. There's still this idea that like freelance writers are like starving artists. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. It's a made up concept from 1847 by Henry Merger. Okay. Not a thing. It's not real. Now, people do buy into that mindset and they are starving artists, and that they make it a reality. But like, many freelance writers are not starving artists. So for me, my motivation is like getting rid of that mindset, understanding that you can make money actually writing about things you care about, and putting things together that like make it easier. Like, the steps, like, it's, I always think of it as like a blueprint, right? I'm giving you a blueprint that you can customize to your own things. Like, I give you a bunch of options because everybody's business is different. But I think the motivation there is always like, how can I help more writers build businesses they love, make more money, not get overwhelmed, not have burnout, but actually put in all the places that make sense for them. Like, not tell them a process that they can't repeat. There's a lot of times where I've ended up with freelance courses that I've taken or seen where they're like, yeah, I use this special process and it works really great, but it only works for them because they're like, I have a network of 1 million people. And you're like, I don't have that. And they're like, spend 10 years building it. And you're like, what? So I hear you, woo. I hear you, woo. So for me, it's about educating more freelancers and getting rid of some of these kind of like insidious mindsets that live in our community, and getting rid of this idea that we're starving artists and that we have to do all these things we hate. Like, a lot of freelancers are scared of marketing, scared of LOIs, sending pitches, putting themselves out there, their writing quality. And there's all these different ideas that I kind of like break down because I want them to be gone from our community. They're not helpful. So for me, if I can help more writers like actually build structural businesses that they love And then the side effect of that is that they make a bunch more money, which almost always happens. That's the whole point. And then there's like this ripple effect of like, if I can teach a few people, they can teach a few people, and they can teach a few people. And then we've kind of like washed over the community, right? We can have this ripple effect that all these ideas that are really critical to people actually, you know, having a good grounding with freelance writing, right? All of that stuff can go out. And there's lots of other people who have the same, like similar ideas to me. It's just like, it's smaller scale. Like they're, you know, they're not on this bigger scale of like the community. So for me, I always try to think of it as like wider impact on the community. That's the motivation. All right, let's talk about 3. Let's roll into 3 here. All right. Have you tried bathing her in graham flour or basan? Okay, not basan, but we have done all of the stuff, like everything. We've done all the powders and the soaps and the this thing and that. Like, it is in her skin. It's in her skin. So this has been the problem, is we've given her baths with all of these things. Like, people have been sending me recommendations and I've been doing all this stuff. It's like, I get rid of it in the bath, right? Like, I soak it in there and let it sit on her fur and in her skin. But then like a few days later, it's, you know, it's coming out of her pores. It's like in her skin. So we have to like get it out of her skin, not, you know, like not her fur. And it's just been a struggle. So maybe we can try basan or like, or fall, and like, or it says if they fail, or is it fall, or yeah. So we'll try. We'll see if that works. But it, like, a lot of people, like, I read about it, were like, oh yeah, the skunk smells in their fur. Nope. It's in her skin. It's in her skin. Like, she has absorbed it. It is like part of her being. So like, we're trying desperately, right? We're trying desperately to get it out of you. Yeah, and it's, yes, and Vicky, it's totally true. A lot of those soaps and stuff, you cannot get in their eyes, ears, or nose or mouth. So if I'm washing her, I have to do it super carefully around her face. And let me tell you, like, a lot of the smell is from her face. So in order to, it's just a thing. Like, if your dog ever gets sprayed by a skunk, my thoughts and my positive vibes are with you, because if they get sprayed in the face, like, it's just, you know, trying to wash her face, this beautiful little cherub right here, trying to wash her face, we have to use I use these like little cotton pads to try to like get it off, and it's a whole thing. And you can't really scrub her face. Like, you can wipe it, but if you scrub, you're gonna get it in her eyes, and then it's like a whole, you know, or her nose, or she's gonna eat it, which she did try to eat some baking soda, which is harmless, but in small amounts. But, you know, because she's skunky, we use large amounts. So if she eats a large amount of baking soda, we have a problem. So it's a thing. But yeah, we're doing our best. We're trying. But now that she smells more skunky, we're going to have to do some investigative reporting out there and seeing like, what's the deal with the skunk, and did it spray again? All right. 3. Let's talk about 3. So 3 here is, when are we sending LOIs? When are we sending LOIs with a potential client? And I'm going to combine that with, who do you send connection requests to versus an LOI? So the first thing we're going to talk about is when we're kind of sending these. So when I send an LOI, I am most likely sending it through InMail on LinkedIn. And my students are loving LinkedIn Premium Sales Navigator. I have LinkedIn Premium, which gives me, I forget, 15 InMails a month, I think is right. Yeah, 15. And my students have LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which is $100 a month for 50 InMails a month. So you're getting, and they roll over. So like, let's say you send 45, 5 of your InMails will roll over, you know, per month. But that, it is working really well for them. It's making their marketing super easy. So LinkedIn Premium, 100% worth it. My plan is $65 a month for 15 InMails. So like, I'm getting way less InMails for like way more money. But my plan is super old, and I just haven't, like, I have a whole bunch that kind of like roll over. So paying $100 for Sales Navigator hasn't really made financial sense. But for a lot of my students, the $100 a month has been totally worth it to get those 50 InMails. So when I'm sending InMails through LinkedIn, those are my LOIs. I send my LOIs as InMails. Then after I send my LOI, I just press connect to the person, because they're going to get a connection request and the message together, right? So then I don't have to write a note with my connection request because I just did. I sent them a message. That's the note, and then I connect with them. So I do it at the same time, because if they don't answer my LOI, at least they're in my network now. So if I ever want to follow up, if I ever want to send them a message or recommend someone to them, they're already in my network. Now that problem has been solved. The difference here is I will send a connection request to potential clients that aren't ready. What that means to me is they don't have the money, their business isn't big enough yet, like they don't have enough employees, like they don't have maybe 10 or 15. Like I work with a lot of startups, so they don't have between 10 and 50 employees, they don't have the right revenue ranges, they don't have a bunch of things that I think are really important, like their content is not really kind of production-y, and they're just kind of not ready. Like they're still kind of doing a lot of the fundamentals of building the business rather than doing the marketing and content. So I will send them a connection request and say, hey, I'm a freelance content strategist and content marketing writer, or like whatever niche, right? I'm a freelance real estate content strategist and content marketing writer. We have mutual connections. We're in the same city. We're in the same field. Would love to connect. Those people I connect with ahead of time, so they're already in my network when, let's say, they get funding or something changes, or I notice that their company is expanding really quickly. Then I can send them an LOI, or I can say like, hey, I noticed that you're growing. Just wondering if you need any help with content or marketing. Then I can do that. But I always send, like, if my preference is like pretty much in mails with connection requests. I think that's the way that makes the most sense when you're growing. Larissa says, have to jump off. Hold on. Have to jump off, but what I've been able to catch has been super helpful. Thank you, man. You're welcome, Larissa. You can always watch the rest later. I always think of this live stream as like you can hop on, hop off. It's always nice to hang out with other writers. We're glad you could hang out. And all right, let's keep going. So the deal is that when I'm sending these LOIs, I always kind of default to that, because that makes the most sense based on the list that I made, right? I made a list and it has certain revenue ranges that make sense for my clients, where I know that they probably are doing content marketing and they have the money to pay for a writer. Like they have a budget basically. If I find out that there's a company that's like just not quite ready, or they're kind of like coming up, but they're not like super stable, that's where I send a connection request only. I don't send an LOI. But these kinds of things where like again, this is the motivation. The motivation is I just straight up say, do you need help? My LOI is like, I'm pretty sure you need help, but I'm going to, I want to reach out and ask if you need help. The connection request is like, I'm pretty sure that you're not ready. So I just want to be your, I want to be in your network to like share information or to recommend people or help, send stuff to you if I want to, or if I want to send an LOI later, or if you change companies or whatever it is, they're in my network now. And then that helps me send more LOIs, because the more people you get in your network, then you get to send LOIs for free, because you get free in-mails, right? And other people have premium. So that stuff is all important. But I would say that like 9 times out of 10, I'm sending an LOI. Every once in a while, like 10%, 10% of the time I'm sending connection requests and not an LOI. But the whole point of these is that you are understanding who's a fit and who's ready and who's not. And what that comes down to is revenue, how their content is looking, what their business growth is. Like if you notice that they're laying people off, that's not always a bad sign in terms of content. It depends on their priorities. So one of the questions I've been getting a lot right now is like, what about layoffs? Like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Layoffs can be really good for freelance writers, because that work still needs to be done. Just because those people don't work there anymore doesn't mean that work doesn't exist. That work is still there. It's just that they, are laying people off. And let's say they laid off 10 people. In order to pay you, it's less than one person. Like a salaried person is always way more expensive than a freelance writer. Giving you giving you $30,000 to do content strategy is a drop in the bucket compared to a salary. All the insurances, the 401k, the onboarding, the office equipment, the company lunches, or whatever it is, like a salaried employee, like even if someone gives you $30,000 for a content project, or a content strategy, that's a drop in the bucket compared to, all of these other people who work salaried positions. And when they get laid off, paying you a small amount of money compared to that to get the same work done is really great for them. So these are all kind of important things to remember. And I hope that, yes, I hear you. I hear you making skunky noises over there. These are all important things to remember when it comes to marketing, motivation for your marketing, who you reach out to, sending your LOIs cold or sending them, warm after you've decided you want to do a connection request and someone just wasn't ready yet. All that stuff. Good job, Charlie. You look great. You look like a tiny panda. All right, let's get to questions. So I hope that was helpful so far. If you feel like this has been helpful, give it a thumbs up. If you feel like you want to learn more about building a high earning freelance writing business, subscribe. All right, let's go to questions. There's a lot. Okay, I'm just going to say the caveat here. There is a lot more that I could say about this topic, but I don't want to make it like a tidal wave. There are, this is one of the things, like I said, that we talk about in the course in depth. Who do you send connection requests to? How do you make a list? How do you whittle it down? How do you figure out your niches? How do you figure out revenue ranges? How do you track your clients? How do you do all this stuff? This is stuff I do super in depth in the course. And here, I just don't want to make a 4-hour video of me talking about this. So these are kind of quick and dirty when it comes to LOIs and marketing. But I hope that this was helpful. All right, let's talk about questions. So, Shaisa. Man, I know you told me in the chat. What is it? Hold on. Longer Shaisa. A longer Sha. Okay, I'm trying my best. I'm gonna get it. Don't you worry, I'm gonna get it. All right, so with your LOI, this is why I thought these questions were great for this topic. Hello. So, with your LOI, how many people from the same target company should I send the LOI to? I think initially sending it to, say, editors, content managers, CMOs, marketing heads, and the CEO would be good. But if I don't hear it back from them? What should be my next approach? Yes, I understand that following up is one of them. So here's the deal. One person, that's it. What we're doing, excuse me, I hear you, Woo. The hiccups. One person, what we're doing is putting an iron in the fire. We are only following up with people who get back to us. That's it. So this is why we're sending so many LOIs. Your job isn't to send an LOI and then send it to everyone in the company and then they're like, what's going on? You send it to one person, and that one person can be the content marketing manager or the content manager or the marketing manager or the director of marketing or the VP of marketing or the CEO or one of those people, because you're not trying to spam everybody. This is something that I think is a mistake with a lot that freelance writers make, is they're like, oh, I should just send it to everybody so that somebody gets it and talks to me. You have no idea what's going on at their company. You have no idea what's going on internally. So this idea that you should say oh my gosh, what if they don't get back to me? They're not going to. Only 10% of them are going to. And for me, I have 25 to 30-ish% response rate. But that's, like I said, I'm very particular about who I reach out to. So I have a higher response rate because I've been doing this long enough to know, I can look at a bunch of a list and be like, yes, 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 no, no, no. It's quicker for me. And that's just with experience. You'll get there too. So one person, and if you don't hear back from them, it doesn't matter. So I kind of have this idea in my head where it's if you get back to me, then you're on my radar. If you don't, I move on with my life. So you're going to send thousands of LOIs where no one will get back to you. In the 10 years that I've been a freelance writer, I've sent thousands of LOIs where no one ever answered. That's just part of the process. 10% will answer, maybe 20%, maybe 30% will answer. Then you'll have, a handful of them that will become clients. But the good part is you only need a handful. You only need 2 to 5 people. I usually 3 to 5. So you usually need 3 to 5 people to become your clients out of all the LOIs you send. That's it. It's a really small number. So that's the cool thing is, yeah, you're sending a lot of marketing and yeah, not a lot of people get back to you, but you don't need a ton of people to get back to you. You need a handful, and then you need an even smaller handful to sign a contract and give you some money. So one person, if you don't hear back from them, it doesn't matter. They're not on your radar anyways. Move along. It's not that you're doing freelance writer marketing. I hear you, Woo. I just, I get it. I'm answering a question right now. I can't pick you up. You're skunky. So this is just an iron in the fire, right? This is something where you're just putting something in the fire. You don't know when it's going to warm up. You don't know what's going on. You don't want to make the mistake of like freelance writers who are like marketing to companies and they're like, we just keep marketing to one company until they sign. Like they will never sign. Like, there's lots of times, more often than not, they will not sign the thing. So you send the LOI and move on. If you don't hear back from any of them, this is why I made those templates. This is why, if you go to mandyellis.com/bundle, this is why I made the templates, is because sometimes when you don't hear back, it's because your LOI sucks. Your LOI is trash hamster town, okay? And how you're reaching out to people is either too like salesy or too overwhelming. You're like not making it, like cut and dry, kind of like, do you need help? Goodbye. So that's something else. That's a different problem. Most of the time, you're not going to hear back. 2, you need to make sure your LOI is in check. 3, your next approach is to keep marketing and make a list and keep going. And following up with only people who are getting back to you. Don't waste your time with stuff where like you're following up with a jillion people who don't get back to you. Now, there are things I go over in the course, like different programs that you can use if you do want to follow up automatically. I don't know, or I'm kind of on the fence about following up with cold LOIs. I mean, it's cool. You could follow up automatically with a bunch of cold LOIs, but for me, it's like you're not trying to force someone to sign a contract. Like, you're just trying to put more and more irons in the fire. And the good example here, too, is that I've had someone answer my LOI in 5 seconds and 5 years, okay? So I have had LOIs where I've sent them and 5 seconds later, someone's like, yep, let's do it. Let's get on a call. Then I've sent an LOI and 5 years have gone by, and then someone's like, yes, let's talk. Like, somehow they remembered me and my LOI, and they found it in their inbox, and they dug it out and they like wiped the dust off it, and they're like, let's talk to Mandy. So here's the thing. That's what your next approach is like, move on with your life. You have no idea if you're in the 5-second category or the 5-year category. And your job is not to convince everybody to hire you. Your job is to find the clients who are a good fit for you. They are a teamwork environment. They understand you have other clients. They want to pay good rates for quality work. They understand why they're creating content. They can explain their goals to you, all the good stuff. Like, you're not in there trying to make everybody that you send an LOI to respond to you or, like give you something back for your effort. Your effort this is why I moved to effort goals with my marketing, is because when I was focusing on 50 to 75 LOIs a month, that demotivated me because I ended up getting, like, if I got 49 LOIs, I felt like I wasn't doing a good job. Or if I got 67 LOIs, I was like, oh no, I didn't get 75. So for me, I just made my marketing 1 hour every day. And that marketing was sending LOIs, sending pitches, sending connection requests, following up, commenting and liking people's stuff. Like, whatever I could get done in the hour that was most, and your LOIs and pitches are your big priority. Whatever I could get done in an hour, Monday through Friday, that was what got done. And I could feel good about that. So I hope this was helpful. All right, let's talk about the other question. So, makes sense. Thank you. Okay, good. I know that this is like, my face is over here. Okay, let's see if we can make it like smaller. Yeah, okay, let's make it tiny as you watch me like struggle with this thing. There we go. Okay, so here's the thing. Your course. So my course, Freelance Writer Wealth Lab. These are some questions about my course. I see you, Charlotte. We are running out of snackos in here. Oh my goodness. Ugh, you lick my hand and you smell like skunk. Ah! Okay, so here's the deal. Your course, my course, Freelance Writer Wealth Lab, it opens twice a year. It's going to open in September in a handful of days, like I think it's either less than 3 weeks or about 3 weeks from right now. And it opens in April. So there's only 2 times a year where the course opens. So Freelance Writer Wealth Lab, what will be the cost? Do you take multiple installment payments? So the course is $997 if you do full pay. And full pay comes with some bonuses. And those bonuses are, you get a one-on-one coaching call with me. It's a 1-hour coaching call. It's included in the $997. And you get a review of your LOI, your pitch, your website, your LinkedIn, or a writing sample. You get 1 review of any of those things. So that's the full pay option. Then I do a 6-month payment plan. Sorry, 6-month payment plan at $187. A lot of students, there's like a mix. So like, don't feel bad. Like for me, I think it's like, it should make financial sense, whatever you choose. Like, I think a lot of students are like, oh my gosh, I really want to do this, but like, it's okay if you can't do full pay. Like, there are other things that, you can do. And being part of the course, like, I'm in there all the time. I'm in the community. I'm there. We do live Q&As twice a week. Like, I'm there all the time. So you may not even need a one-on-one with me. You may just like, that may be something where like it's really cool as an option, but you realize through the course, you're like, oh wait, like I don't need this. I don't need that Mandy anymore. So those are the two options. Number two is I've started going full-time freelance writing this year, which is cool. Congratulations. And my interests are in content strategy and marketing. I was also part of the LinkedIn program from the Freelance Writers Den. And I need more help with my freelance writing business. Do you think I'm a good fit for your course? So it's hard for me to tell because I'm just reading this off of here. But most of the time the answer is yes. Like, not saying that as like my course is like the best thing ever, but most of the time when I get a question for someone asking me, like every single time someone says, do you think I'm a fit? And they've joined the course, they've been like, this is amazing. I'm so glad I joined. Like every single time. So when you do like content strategy and content marketing and all that stuff, I go over that in the course. Like, how do you get into those spaces beyond like writing blog posts or case studies or white papers? I go over like, how do you get into ideas and strategy and marketing and the upper echelon of projects that come with content and marketing. So I go over that in the course. We go over LinkedIn like nobody's business. I go through all the stuff that I do on LinkedIn, the things that my students have done that have worked for them. And then we go over like basically different structures of your business. So we go over inbound marketing, which is getting your website and your LinkedIn and your writing samples in check, getting everything together. We go over outbound marketing, which is your LOIs, your letters of introduction that we talked about today, your pitches, how to get everything kind of set up in a system and a process with your marketing, making your lists, finding the right clients, getting your niches down. And if you don't want to pick specific niches, like I have different options. Like I always like to make the course have different like pathways that you can take, because I know everybody's business is very different. Every freelance writer I've ever met, their business is like slightly different from someone else's. So there's a lot of pathways. And something that past students have said is like, I've really opened their eyes to the amount of options that they have. Like they felt really boxed in and they were like, oh, I have to do these few prescribed ways or I'm not going to make money. One of the things that my students have been like, oh my gosh, like there's so many things I can do now. Now I'm kind of like, what do I do next? Instead of feeling like, they have to do these things they don't like. The other thing about the course, so this says 3, what can I expect to learn and achieve from your course? Which is a great, great question. I love the way that you answer questions without holding back. I would love your honest feedback during the course if possible. Yeah, I get feedback all the time in the course, in the community. Like I said, if you do the full pay, you will get a coaching call and you'll get a review of one of those 5 things, which is your LOI, your pitch, your website, your LinkedIn, or a writing sample. But yeah, so what can you expect to learn and achieve from your course? So for me, I put in all the different pieces of not only building the framework of your business, but getting the scaling part down. So it's basically teaching you how to do, set up your inbound, right? Your outbound, right? So getting your website, your LinkedIn set up, doing all your marketing, all the types of marketing that you need to do, how to figure out how to find clients. Then we have another module that goes over how to find even better high-paying clients. We go over all of the tech library stuff. I'm always adding things because my students are like asking, they're like, how do you do this? And how do you do that? And they're like, can we get a video? So I add things all the time to the course. You have lifetime access to the course. So like whatever I add or whatever I change in the course, you always get access to that. There's not anything extra. It's just like there. And we go over things like Boomerang and how to like the technical aspects of setting up LinkedIn, how to build banners, how to use things like GMass, how to, I have the 6-figure freelance writer call in there where I asked my friends to come in and answer some questions. So a lot of people got a ton of value out of just listening to these 6-figure freelancers talk about their business and how they built it and their mistakes and their roadblocks, all that stuff. The thing that I hope and that I've seen with my students, like this is what I've seen with my students, but this is also what I hope that you achieve in the course, is that you feel like you're building a business that you actually like, that fits you. Like it's a business that that makes sense for where you're going. It's not just like I'm giving you like one format and you're like, I can't fit this format. Why isn't this working? Like I'm giving you a bunch of things, and we call it the grocery store, or like the Lego blocks. I'm giving you all of the things in the grocery store, and you get to pick whether you want to use apples and broccoli or pears and bananas to build your business. And there's all these different options in there. So when you're looking at it, I hope you achieve building a business that's not so hard to like put together, that you get to do marketing that makes you feel good, that you're like, hey, I'm actually reaching out to people to help them with content, not annoying them, not frustrating them, not being a busybody or a pain. It's actually like good quality ethical marketing. It teaches you how to do things in a way that's scalable so that you can spend your time either like if you want more free time, or if you want to scale and do other projects. Like some people want to start a podcast, or some people want to spend more time with their kids, or some people want to just have more free time, go on more vacations. I've had several students go from working all the time to working actually like 30 hours a week or 40 hours a week instead of like 80 hours a week. So they've cut their time in half, their work time, excuse me. Now they get their weekends off. They're actually able to not only go on vacation because they have time off, but afford it. That's been a big deal. The other things is like, I feel like a lot of people take the course for different reasons. Like, I think with my course, it's more about giving you the tools and then you build the stuff. Like I'm giving you all the tools and teaching you how to build things, but I want you to be able to build it in your own way, in a way that makes sense for how you want to run your business and what types of projects you want. And then I give a lot of options for how to scale that, whether you want to scale it through A, B, or C, or whether you want to scale it through D, E, F, or whether you want to do this type of thing or that type of thing. So it's not just like I'm telling you to do 1,000 blog posts a month. I'm telling you how to combine, like starting off with some of these more basic projects, then getting higher up projects and higher up clients and more complex projects. Then I'm teaching you how to do like those big juicy projects that are like $10,000, $30,000, like big consulting projects or big content strategy projects. So for me, I feel like it's all of these kind of steps that you need to go through in your business for where you kind of want to take it without being overwhelmed, without feeling like, you know, you only have to do it a prescribed way and that you have to do things you don't like. Like for me, this course should be that you do these things and they make you feel good. If A doesn't work, try B. If B doesn't work, try C. Okay. So the way it's kind of set up is that there are things where you're like, I don't feel good about A, so I'm going to try this thing. Or like, I don't, you know, this isn't working. I'm going to experiment with this. I also make sure that the course has a lot of support. So like I said, we have twice weekly live Q&As that are an hour each. And then I'm in the community every day, all the time. So you can always send me a DM. You can always send me a message. You can send me an email. And I'm in the community. So like if you post a question in there, I'm answering it. Like I'm there all the time. So there's lots of support. And it's not just me either. Like I have other students who answer questions. I have other students who support you and cheer you on. That's another thing that I think is really important for this course, is that it comes with like a community of people who are really striving. They're really motivated. They're supportive. They're people who are really going to be positive about your growth and pay attention to the specific stuff in your business. They share leads. They share different types of like client things. They recommend each other. It's this really, it's been really important to me to build this community with strong people who support each other. And they all just, you know, they all hang out and they come to live Q&As and they talk to each other. And, you know, it's really neat. So yeah. Okay. I think that was the last part. Yeah. Okay. Hal says, I have to run. Got to jump on a call. Great guidance as always. You're welcome, Hal. Good luck on your call. I'm glad you were able to hang out. All right. Let's go. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. You're definitely the right person for me. I can't wait to join. Well, great. That's cool. Yeah. I mean, if you feel like Shaisa, man, I'm going to get it. If you become a student, I will get it. We will have you on there and you will tell me what this is so I can say it right. Shaisa. Damn it. I'm going to get it. So yeah, if you feel like I'm the right person, like I said, from telling everybody that stuff about the course, if you want to hear more about it, It's opening up in just a few weeks. Where are we going? Here we go. Just go to mandyellis.com/course. Freelance Writer Wealth Lab is a 10-week course. And then we have like, there's, I have the community open afterwards. So there's support after that. I'm deciding how I want to, like, we have master classes right now. So my students that I have are about to go through 4 summer master classes that we have that are coming up. One is an editors and magazines and articles class with one of my editors. One is an SEO basics class. One is, I hear you, Woo. I hear you. One is a content strategy class, which I'm very excited about because it's with the person whose templates I use. And then we have another super cool class on legal stuff. So legal contracts with an attorney. And I'm super excited. I'm like really excited about all my master classes, but that's something, it's not anything extra. I, provide it for my students right now. I'm just like, the community is an open part that I think is really important for the course. Things may change, like it may become a different type of community later on, but for right now, that's the deal. All right. So I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you learned a lot. I hope that if you feel like the course is a fit, that you might be a student of mine. But for any, like, if you just like to hang on the live stream, that's totally chill. And Charlotte over here, hopefully we can, oh, you're not even, go in your hobble hole. Go in your hobble hole, you goob. Go in your hobble hole. Go in your hobble hole. No, you have to go in your hobble hole. All right, ready? Good job. All right. Charlotte, hopefully we will get the smell out of you someday. Maybe we could take you to a rug cleaner, Charlotte. What do you think? We'll take you to the dry cleaner and maybe they'll dry clean you and then you won't smell. Just kidding, Charlotte. We won't do that. But we may have to get prescription soap. Who knows? May have to ask about that. All right. Thanks for hanging out. We're here every Friday at noon Central Time. I hope this was helpful. I hope you have a good weekend, and I will see you next Friday. Bye.